welcome. We are back with SirAch, chapter 39. How different the man who devotes himself to study the law of the Most High. He explores the wisdom of the men of the old and occupies himself with the prophecies. He treasures the discourse of famous men and goes to the heart of involved sayings. He studies obscure parables and is imbued with his hidden messages of the sages. He is an attendant of the great. His interest to the ruler, he travels among the people of foreign lands to learn what is good and evil among men. His care is to seek the Lord, his Maker, to petition the Most High, to open his lips in prayer, to ask pardon for his sins. Then if it pleases the Lord Almighty, he will be filled with the spirit of understanding. He will pour forth his words of wisdom, and in prayer give thanks to the Lord, who will direct his knowledge and his counsel. As he meditates upon his mysteries, he will show the wisdom of what he has learned, and glory in the law of the Lord of covenant. Many will praise his understanding. His frame can never be affected. Unfading will be his memory. Through all generations, his name will live. People will speak of his wisdom, and assembly sings his praises. While he lives, he is one of the thousand. And when he dies, he is renowned. He will not cease. Praise of God, the Creator. More, I will set forth my theme to shine like the moon in the fullness. Listen, my faithful children, open your petals like roses planted near running waters. Send up the sweet odor of incense, break forth in the blossoms like lily. Send up the sweet odor of your hymn and praise. Blessed the Lord for all has done. Proclaim the generations of his name. Loudly sing his praise with music on the harp of all string instruments. Sing out with joy as you proclaim. The works of God are all of them good. In its own time, every need is supplied. At his will, the waters become still as it is a flash. He had but to speak, the reserves were made. He has but commanded, and his will is be done. Nothing can limit his achievements. The works of the mankind present to him. Not a thing escapes his eye. His gaze spans all the ages. To him there is nothing unexpected. One calls them to say, what is the purpose of this? Everything is chosen to satisfy a need. His blessings overflows like the Nile. The Euphrates, it enriches the surface of the earth. Again, his wrath expels the nations. It turns fertile land to a salt marsh. For the virtuous his paths are level. To the haughty they are steep. Good things for the good he provides from the beginning. But for the wicked, good things are bad. Chief of all needs of human life are water, fire, iron, and salt. The heart of the wheat, milk, honey, the blood of the grape, and oil, and cloth. For the good are all these good, but for the wicked man they turn out evil. They are all storm winds created to punish, which in their fury can dislodge mountains. When destruction must be, they will hurl all their force, and appease the anger of their maker. And his treasury also keep for proper time. Are fire and hail, famine, disease, ravenous beasts, scorpions, vipers, and avenging swords to exterminate the wicked. And in doing his bidding by rejoice in their assumptions, they disobey not his commands. So from the first I took my stand and wrote down as my theme. The works of God are all of them are good. Every need of them it comes he feels. No cause of them to say this is not good as that. For each shows it is worth a proper time. So now that with full of joy of heart proclaim and bless the name of the Holy One. Chapter 40. Joys and miseries of life. A great anxiety has God allowed it, a heavy yoke to the sons of men, for the days one leaves his mother womb to the day he returns to the mother of all living. His thoughts, the fear in his heart, his trouble forbiddings till the day he dies. Wherever he sits on a lofty throne or grovels in the dust and ashes, wherever he bears a splendid crown or is wrapped in a chorus of cloaks, or wrath and envy, trouble and dread, terror of death, fury and strife. Even when he lies on his bed to rest, he cares at night, disturb his sleep. So in short, his rest seems like none, till his dreams, his struggles as he did by day. Terrified by what his mind eyes see, like a fugitive is being pursued. As he reaches safely, he wakes up, astonished that there was nothing to fear. So it was all flesh, the man and with the beast. But for sinners 7 times more, plagued the bloodshed, wraith and sword plundered the ruin, and famine and death for the wicked these were created evil. And they who bring on destruction, all All that is of the earth to return, what is formed above returns above. All that comes from bribes of injustice will be wiped out, but loyalty remains of ages. But loyalty remains for ages. Wealth of wickedness is like a wadi in spate, like mighty streams with lightning and thunder, which in rising arose along the stones, but suddenly at once and for all comes to an end. The offshoot of violence will not flourish, for the root of the godless is sheer on rock, or they are like the reeds of the riverbank, withered before all plants. But godliness will never be cut off, and justice endures forever. Wealth and wages can make life sweet, but better than either is finding a treasure, a child or a city who will preserve one's name, but better than either attaining wisdom. Sheepfolds, orchards, and bring flourishing health, but better than neither. A devoted wife, wine, music delight the soul, but better than either. Conjugal love, the flute and harp often sweet melody, but better than either a voice that is true. Charm and beauty delight the eye, but better than either the flows of the field. I feel a neighbor, the timely guides, better than either a prudent wife. A brother, a helper for times of stress, but better than either. Charities that rescue gold and silver makes one way secure, but better than either. Sound judgment, weather and vigor, build up confidence, but better than either. Fear of God. Fear of the Lord leaves nothing wanting. He who has it need seek no other support. The fear of God is a practice of blessing, a panoply of all that is glorious. My son, live not the life of a beggar. Better to die than to beg. When one has to look for another table, his life is not really a life. His neighbor declares bring revolutions. His neighbor declares bring revolutions of spirit. Someone who understands inward feelings. In the mouth of shameless man, begging is sweet, but with him it burns like fire. Chapter 41. O death, how bitter the thought of you, for the man at peace in his midst of possessions, for the man unruffled and always successful, who still can enjoy life's pleasures. O death, how welcome your sins to the weak of man, falling strength, tottering and always rebuffed, with no more sight, with vanquished hope. Fear not death, decreed for you, remember it, embrace those before you, and those after. Thus God has ordained for all flesh. Why then should you reject the will of the Most High? Whether one has lived 1,000 years, 100 or 10, neither will has no claim on life. A reprobate line are the children of sinners. A reprobate line are the children of sinners, and wiltless offspring are in the homes of the wicked. Their domain is lost to singers. Children reproach abides with their descendants. Children curse their wicked father, for they suffer disgrace through him. Woe to you, O sinful men, who forsake the law of the Most High. If you have children, calamity will seize them. You will beget them only for groaning when you stumble. There is lasting joy of death. There is lasting joy at death. You become a curse. Whether is or not returns to naught. Whether or not returns to naught. So too, the godless form void to void. Man's body is a fleeting thing, but a virtuous man will never be annihilated. Have a care for your name, for it will stand by you. Better than a precious treasure in the thousands. The boom of the life is limited for days, but a good name for days without number. True and false shame. My children, heed my instructions about shame. Judge of disgrace only according to my rules. For it is not only well to be ashamed, nor is it always proper thing to blush. But father and mother, be ashamed of immorality, before masters and mistress of falsehood, before prince and ruler of flattery, before the public assembly of crime, before the friend and companion of disloyalty, and of breaking of oath of agreement. Be ashamed of theft from the people where you settle, and stretching out your elbow where you dine, or refusing to give when you ask, or defrauding another of his appointed share, or failing to return a greeting, offering a rebuff a friend, of gazing at a married woman, and of entertaining thoughts about another's wife, trifling with a servant, or of trifling with a servant girl you have, and of violating her couch, of using harsh words with friends, and of following up your gifts with insults, of repeating what you hear, and often betraying secrets. These are the things you should rightfully avoid as shameful, and if you would be looked upon by everyone with favor. See, as I'm thinking about this, cause like literally, I think I got this thing where I share stuff about people, like people just talk to me sometimes. And I guess I just need to learn how to close my mouth. I really don't have to share shit with people. They don't really care anyway. Okay. So let's finish this. Following returning a greeting, of rebuffing a friend, or of gazing at a married woman, entertaining thoughts about another's wife, trifling with a servant girl you have, and of violating her couch, of often using harsh words of friends, and following up your gifts with insults, of repeating what you hear, and betraying secrets. These are things you should rightfully avoid as shameful, if you will be looked at upon by everyone with favor. Chapter 42. But of these things be not ashamed. But of things be not ashamed, lest you sin through human respect, of the law of the Most High and His precepts, of the sins to be passed upon the sinful, of sharing the expenses of the business or a journey, or dividing of inheritance of property, of accuracy of scales and balance, or tested measures and weights, of carrying much or little, or bargaining in depth in dealing with a merchant, or constant training of the child, or beating the sides of a disloyal servant, of a seal to keep an erring wife at home, or of a lock placed where there are many hands, or of a lock placed where there are many hands, of numbering every deposit, or of recording all that is given or received, of chastising of the silly and foolishness, or of the aged and infirm answering for wanton conduct. Thus you will be truly cautious and recognized by all men as discreet. A father's care for his daughter. A daughter is a treasure that keeps her father wakeful, and weary over, he drives away rest, lest she pass her prime unmarried, or when she is married, lest she dislike. While unmarried, lest she be seduced, or as a wife, lest she prove unfaithful, lest conceive in her father's home, or be sterile in that of the husband. Keep a close watch on your daughter, lest make sure you of the sport, lest she make sure you the sport of the enemies. A byword in the city, a reproach among the people, an object, a delusion in the public gathering. See that there is no lattice in her room, no place that overlooks the approaches of that house. Oh God. Let her not apparel in charms before the men, or spend her time with married women. Let her not parade her charms before the men, or spend her time with married women. For just as much come from garments, so harm to the woman comes from a woman. So harm comes from woman. Better is a man's harshness than a woman's indulgence. For just as comes from garments, so harm to a woman comes from woman. Better a man's harshness than a woman's indulgence, and a frightful daughter than any disgrace. The works of God in nature. Now I recall God's work, what I have seen. I will describe at God's word where His works brought into being. They do as His will, as He has ordained for them. As the rising sun is clear to all, so the glory of God fills the works. Yet even God's holy ones must fail. In recounting the wonders of the Lord, the God has given his host the strength to stand firm before his glory. He plumbs the depths before it penetrates the hearts. The innermost being that understands the Most High possesses all the knowledge, and sees from the old the things that are to come. He makes known from the past and the future, and reveals the deepest secrets. No understanding does he lack, no single thing escapes him. Perennial is his almighty wisdom. He is from all eternity one, and the same. He is from all eternity one and the same, with nothing added, nothing taken away, no need of a counselor for them. How beautiful are his works! Even to spark his fleeting vision, the universe lives and abides forever. It lives and abides forever to meet each need. Each creature is preserved, all of them different from one another, yet none of them has made in vain, for each in turn as it comes is good. Can one ever see through, as one can ever see enough of splendor. Chapter 43. The clear vault of the sky shines forth like heaven, itself a vision of glory. The clear vault of the sky shines forth like heaven, a vision of glory. The orb of the sun. The orb of the sun, resplendent as it is rising. What a wonderful work of the Most High. At noon it sees the surface of the earth, and who can bear its fruit? The fiery heat, like a blazing furnace of solid metal. It sets mountains aflame with its rays. When by its fiery darts the land is consumed, the eyes are dazzled by its light. Great indeed is the Lord who made it, and whose orders his urges on the seas. The moon, too, that marks the changing times, governs the season, the lasting sign, by which we know that the feast days and fixed dates. These light givers which wands in its course, as its name says, each month it renews itself. How wonderful, how wondrous, in the name, the beauty, the glory of the heavens are. The stars that adorn with their fathers sparkling the heights of God, at whose command they keep their peace, their place, and never relax in their vigils. A weapon against the flood waters stored on the high, lighting up the firmament by its brilliance. Behold the rainbow, that bless its maker, for majestic indeed in its splendor. It spans the heaven with its glory, a bow bent by the mighty hand of God. Its rebuke marks out the path of the lightning. It spins the arrows of judgments to their goals. At it, the storehouse is open, and like the vultures, the clouds hurry forth. In his majesty, he gives the storm its power and breaks off the hailstones. The thunder of his voice makes the earth wither. For his might, the mountains quake. A word from him drives the south wind, the angry north wind, the hurricane and the storm. He sprinkles the snow like furling birds, comes settling like swarms of locusts. It shines like whiteness, blinds the eyes, the minds baffled by its steady fall. He scatters frost like so much salt, shines like blossoms on the thorn bush. Cold northern blast he sends, that turns the ponds to lumps of ice. He freezes over every body of water, clothes each pool with a coat of mail. With the mountain growth is scorched with heat, the flowering plains as though by flames. The dripping clouds restore them all, and the scattering dew enriches the parched lands. He is the plan that calms the deep. He plants the islands in the sea. Those who go into the sea tell a part of his story. And when we hear them, we are thunderstruck. In it are his creatures, stupendous and mating, all kinds of life, the monsters of the deep. For him, each messenger succeeds, and his binding accomplishes his will, more than we need not add. Let the last word be, he is in all in. Let the last word be, he is all in all. Let us praise him the more, since we cannot fathom him, for greater is he than all his works. Awful indeed is the Lord Majesty, and wonderful is his power. Lift up your voice to the gloriful Lord, for he is still beyond your powerful to praise. Exalt him with reward, strength, and worry not, for you cannot reach to him. For who can send him and describe him? For who can praise him as he? Beyond there are many things lie hid. Only a few things work have been seen, It is the Lord who has made all things, and to all those who fear him, he gives wisdom. Chapter 44. Praise of Israel, great ancestors. Now, I will praise those godly men, our ancestors, each in his own image, each in his own time. The bounding glory of the Most High portion, his own parts since the days of subduers of the land in the kingly fashion, men of the renown of their might, of counselors in their prudence, are seers of all things in prophecy, resolute princes of the folk, and governors with their staves, authors skilled in compassion, in composition, and foreigners of epigrams with their spikes, composers of melodies and psalms, composers of melodies and psalms, are disclosures on lyrics, medics. Hold on, let's restart this because I think they're talking about singers and poets and stuff like this. Hold on. Chapter 44. Praise of Israel, great ancestors. Now I praise those godly men, our ancestors, each in his own time. The bounding glory of the Most High portion, his own part since the day of the old subduers to that land in kingly fashion. Men of renown, their might, of counselors in their prudence, are seers of all things in prophecy. Resolute prince of the folk, and governors with their staves, and authors skilled in composition, and foreigners of epigrams with their spikes, are composers or melodies, and psalms are disclosures on lyric themes. Stalwart men, solidly establishing and at peace at their own estates. All these were glorious in their time, each illustration in his day. Some of them have left behind a name, and men recount their praiseworthy deeds. But of others there is no memory, for when they are created, they cease, and they are as though they have not lived. And that their children then yet, and that their children after them, yet those who were godly men, whose virtues have not been forgotten. Those whose virtues have not been forgotten. Their wealth remains in the families, their heritage with their descendants, their God's covenant with them, and their family endures. Their prosperity for their sake, and for all time their progeny will endure. Their glory will never be blotted out. Their bodies are peacefully laid away, but their name lives on and on. At the gatherings their wisdom is retold, and the assembly proclaims their praise. Where was he at? Hold on, bro. That's like the biggest snot just came out of my brain. Like, legit. And that shit. I'm sorry. That stuff is disgusting. It's disgusting. Oh, let's start over. Where was he at? Okay. They and their children after them. Yet those that were godly men, those virtues have not been forgotten. The wealth remains in their families, their heritage with the descendants through God's covenant. With them, families endure. The posterity for their sake, for all time their privacy will endure. Their glory will never be blotted out. Their bodies are peacefully laid away, but their name lives on and on. At the gatherings, their wisdom is retold, and the assembly proclaims their praise. The early patriarchs. Enoch walked with the Lord and was taken up. The succeeding generations might learn by his example. Noah found justice perfect, renewed the race. Noah found just and perfect, renewed the race in the time of devastation. Because of his worth, there were survivors. With a sign to him, the deluge ended. As lasting agreement was made with him, there never should all flesh be destroyed. Abraham, father of many peoples, kept his glory without stain. He observed the precepts of the Most High, and into argument with him, in his own flesh, he insists the ordinance, and when tested, he was found loyal. For the reason God promised him with an oath that in his descendants the nations will be blessed. that he will make him numerous as the grains of dust, and they will exalt his prosperity like stars, that he will give them inheritance from sea to sea, from river to river, the ends of the earth. And for Isaac, he renewed the same promise. Because of Abraham his father, the covenant with all his forebears was confirmed, and the blessing rested upon the head of Jacob. God acknowledged him as his firstborn, and gave him an inheritance. He had fixed his boundaries for his tribes, and the divisions into 12. Chapter 45. Praises of Moses, Aaron, and Phinehas. From him was to spring the man who won the favor of all, dear to God and all men. Moses, whose memory is held in all benediction. God's honor devoted upon his time, and the Lord strengthened him with fearful powers. God wrought swift miracles in his words. God wrote swift miracles in all his words, and sustained him in the king's presence, and gave him commandments for his people. He revealed to him his glory, for his trustworthiness is meet. God selected him for all mankind. He permitted him to hear his voice, and led him into the cloud. Where he face to face, he gave him the commandments, the law of the life, understanding that he might teach his precepts to Jacob, his judgments, decrees to Israel. He raised up also like Moses in holiness, and his brother Aaron of the tribe of Levi. He made perpetual his office. When he bestowed on him the priesthood of his people, he established him in honor, and crowded him with loyalty. Instead, he clothed him with splendor of pure, and adorned him with the glorious vestments. Restriches in the tunics, restriches in the tunic and robe. With pomegranates around the hem, and rustle of belts around, about. Those whose pleasing sound at each step, he will be heard within the sanctuary, and the children of his race will be remembered. The scarlet vestments of gold and violet, and christmas, and wrought, and embroidery, and the best plate for decision, and the ephod for cincture, When the scarlet yarn, the work of the weaver, precious stones, the seal engravings, and the golden settlements of the work of the jeweler, to commemorate in indecised letters each of the tribes of Israel on his turban, and the diadem of gold plate wrought with its insignia of holiness, majestic, glorious, renowned for splendor, a delight to the eyes, beauty supreme before him. No one was adorned with these, nor may they ever be worn by any except his sons, and that them alone, generations after generation, for all time. His cereal offerings is wholly burnt, the established sacrifice twice each day. For Moses ordained him and attained him with the holy oil, and a lasting covenant with him, with his family as precious as the heathens, as he should serve God in his priesthood, bless his people in his name. He chose him from all mankind to offer a holocaust and choose offerings to burn sacrifices of sweet odor of memorial. Let's read this over. Majestic, glorious, renowned of splendor, a delight to the eyes, beauty supreme before him. No one was adored with these, nor may they ever be worn by any except his sons, and them alone, generation after generation, for all time. His cereal offerings is wholly burnt, with the established sacrifice twice each day. For Moses ordained him and anointed him with the holy oil, and lasting covenant with him, with his family as permit as the heavens, that he shouted, severe God in his priesthood, and his blessings, his people in his name. He chose him from all mankind to offer a holocaust, and choice offerings to burn sacrifices of sweet odor of memorial. To atone for the people of Israel, he gave to them his laws and authority to prescribe and to judge, and to teach the precepts to his people. To the ritual of the descendants of Israel, men of other families were inflamed against him, were jealous of him in the desert. And the followers of Dathan and Abiram and the band of Korah, the defiance, but the band of Korah in their defiance. But the Lord saw this and became angry. He destroyed them in his burning wrath. He brought down upon them a miracle and consumed them with his flaming fire. Then he increased the glory of Aaron, but bestowed upon him his inheritance. The sacred offerings he allowed it to him, the showbread of his portions. The obligations of the Lord are his food, and given to him is his descendants. But he holds no land among his people, nor shares with them through their heritage. For the Lord himself is his portion. His inheritance is his midst of Israel. Phinehas too, the son of Eleazar, was courageous, third of his line, with the zealous for God of all. He met his crisis of people, and all the prompting of his noble heart atoned for the children of Israel. The one of him, therefore on him again God conferred the right and a covenant of friendship to provide for the sanctuary, so that he and his descendants should possess in the high priesthood forever. For even the covenant with David, the son of Jesse, the tribe of Judah, was an individual heritage, though one son alone, but the heritage of Aaron is for all descendants. And now bless the Lord, and who has crowned you with glory. May he grant you the wisdom of heart to govern his people in justice, lest their welfare should ever be forgotten, of your authority throughout all time. Chapter 46. Joshua, Caleb, and the Judges. Valiant leader was Joshua, son of Nun, assistant of Moses in the prophetic office, formed to be as he implies the great Savior of God chosen ones, to punish the enemy, to win inheritance for Israel. What glory was to punish the enemy and to win the inheritance of Israel. What glory was he when he raised his arm to brandish his javelin against the city? And who could withstand him? When he fought the battles of the Lord, did he not obey his power to stop the sun? So that one day became two, he called upon the Most High God, and his enemies bested him on all sides. And God, Most High, gave answer to him. And hailstones of tremendous power, which he rained down upon the hostile army, till on the slope he destroyed the foe, that all doomed nations might know that the Lord was watching over his people battles. And because he was devoted follower of God, and in Moses' lifetime showed himself loyal, he and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, when they opposed the rebel assembly, averted God's anger from the people and suppressed the wicked compliant. Because of this, they were the only two spared. Let's read that again. He and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, when they opposed the rebel assembly, averted God's anger from the people and suppressed the wicked complaint. Because of this, they were the only two spared. From the 600,000 infantry to lead the people into the inheritance to the land flowing with milk and honey, and strength he gave to Caleb, remained with him even in his old age till he won his way unto the summits of the land, his family to receive the inheritance, that all the people of Jacob might know how good is it to be a devoted follower of the Lord, judge to each one of them, whose hearts were not devoted, who did not abandon God. May their memory be ever blessed, their bones return to the life for their resting place, and that their names receive the fresh luster in their children. Beloved of his people, dear to his maker, dedicated from his mother womb, consecrated to the Lord as a prophet, was Samuel the judger, the priest. At God's word he established the kingdom, and anointed priest to the rule of the people. By the law of the Lord he judged the nation. When he visited the encampments of Jacob as a trustworthy prophet, he was sought out, and his words proved to him as a true seer. He too called upon God and offered them a suckling lamb. Then the Lord thundered forth from heaven, and the tremendous roar of his voice heard. He brought low the rulers of the enemy and destroyed all the lords of the Philistines. When Samuel approached the end of his life, he testified before the Lord and his anointed prince. No bribe or secret gift have I taken from any man, no anyone dared gainsay him. Even when he lay burdened, his guidance was sought. He made known to the king his fate, and from the grave he raised his voice as a prophet to put an end to the wickedness. Chapter 47. Nathan, David, Solomon. After him, Nathan, who served the presence of David, like the choice fat of the sacred offerings, so is David in Israel. He made sport of lions as they were kids, and bears like lambs of flock. As a youth he slew the giant, and whipped out the people's disgrace. When his hand let fly the sling stone to crush the pride of Goliath, since he called upon the Most High, who gave the strength to his right arm to defeat the skilled warrior and raise up the might of his people. Therefore the woman sang his praises, inscribed to him tens of thousands. And when he had assumed the royal crown, he battled and then subdued the enemy on every side. He destroyed the hostile Philistines and scattered their power till our own day. With his every deed, he often thanked to God Most High in his words of praise. With his whole being, he loved his Maker, and daily had his praises sung. He added beauty to the feast, and solemnized the seasons of each year with a singed music before the altar, providing sweet melody of the psalms, so that when the holy name was praised. Before daybreak, the sanctuary would resound. The Lord forgave him his sins and exalted his strength forever. And he conferred on him the rights of royalty and established his throne in Israel. Because of his merits, he has had his successor, a wise son who lived in his security. Solomon reigned during an era of peace, for God made tranquil of all his borders. He built a house in the name of God, established a lasting sanctuary. How wise you were when you were young, overflowing with instructions, like Nile and flood. Your understanding covered the whole earth, like a sea filled with knowledge. Your fame reached distant coasts. The peoples came to you to hear you, with songs and stories and riddle. And your answers, you astounded the nations. You were called by the glorious name which was conferred upon Israel. Gold you gathered like so much iron. You held up silver as though it was lead. But you abandoned yourself to women and gave them dominion over your body. You brought dishonor upon your reputation, shame upon your marriage, wrath upon your descendants, and groaning upon your domain. Thus two governments came into being. With Ephraim kingship was usurped, but God did not withdraw his mercy, nor permit even one of his promises to fail. He does not uproot his posterity of his chosen one, nor destroy the offspring of his friend. So he gave to Jacob a remnant, to David a root for his own family. Solomon finally slept with his fathers and left behind one of his sons expensive in folly and limited in sense, Rehoboam, who by his policy made the people rebel, until one arose who should not be remembered. The sinner who led Israel into sin, who brought ruin to Ephraim and caused them to be exiled from their land. Elijah and Elisha. Their sinfulness grew more and more. They lent themselves to every evil, till like a fire there appeared the prophet. Appeared the prophet, whose words were like a flaming furnace. The staff of bread he shattered, and in his zeal he reduced them to straits. By God's word he shut up the heavens, and 3 times brought down fire. How awesome you are, Elijah, whose glory is equal to yours. You brought a dead man back to life from neither world, but by the will of the Lord. You sent kings down to destruction, and nobles from the beds of sickness. You had threats of Sinai, and at horrible avenging judgments. You anointed kings who should inflict vengeance. In a prophet as a successor, you were taken aloft in a whirlwind, in a chariot with fiery horses. You are destined, it is written in time to come, to put an end to wrath before the day of the Lord, to turn back the hearts of fathers toward their sons, and to reestablish the tribes of Jacob. Blessed is he who shall have seen you before he dies, or Elijah involved in the whirlwind. Then Elijah filled with a twofold portion of his spirit, while with many marvels by his mere world during his lifetime. He feared no one, nor was any man able to intimidate his will. Nothing was beyond his power. Beneath his flesh was brought back into life. In life he performed wonders, and after death marvelous deeds. Despite all this, the people did not repent, nor did they even give up their sins. Instead they were rooted out of their land and scattered all over the earth. But Judah remained a tiny people, with its rulers from the house of David. Some of these did what was right, but others were extremely sinful. Hezekiah and Isaiah. Hezekiah and Isaiah. Hezekiah fortified the city and had water brought into it. With iron tools he cut through the rock. He built reservoirs for water during his reign. During his reign, Sennacherib led an invasion and sent his adjustment. He shook his fist at Zion and blasphemed God in his pride. The people's heart melted with them, and they were anguished like that of childbirth. But they called upon the Most High and lifted up their heads to him. He heard the prayer that uttered and saved them from Isaiah. God struck the camp of Assyrians and routed them with a plague. For Hezekiah did what was right and held fast to the path of David, as ordered by the illustrated prophet Isaiah, who saw the truth in visions. In his lifetime, he turned back the sun and prolonged the life of the king. By his powerful spirit, he looked into the future and consoled the mourners of Zion. He foretold what should be till the end of time, hiding things yet to be fulfilled. Chapter 49. Josiah and the prophets. The name Josiah is blended and since made lasting like a skilled perfumer. Precious is his memory, like honey to the taste, like music to a banquet. For he grieved over betrayals, and he destroyed the abominable idols. He turned to God with his whole heart. Through times where evil he practiced virtue. Except for David, Hezekiah, and Josiah, they were all wicked. They abandoned the law of the Most High. These kings of Judah, right to the very end. They abandoned the law of the Most High. These kings of Judah, right to the very end. So he gave over the power to others and the glory to the foolish foreign nations, who buried the holy city and left its streets desolate, as Jerusalem had foretold. For they have treated him badly, who even in the womb had been made a prophet, to root out and pull down and destroy, and then to build and to plant. Ezekiel beheld the vision and described the different creatures of the chariot. He also referred to Job, who always preserved in the right path. Then the 12 prophets made their bones return to the life form they were resting place, gave new strength to Jacob, and then saved by them faith and hope. The heroes after exile. How can we finally praise Zerubbabel, who is like a singing ring on God's right hand, and Jeshua, Jodek's son? In their time they built the house of God. They erected the holy temple and destined for everlasting glory. They extolled by the memory of Nehemiah. He built our ruined walls, restored our shattered defenses, and set up gates and bars. The earliest patriarchs, few on earth have been made equal of Enoch, for he was taken up bodily, and was ever a man born like Joseph. Even his dead body was provided for glories to, when Shem and Seth and Enos. But beyond that any of the living being was the splendor of Adam. Chapter 50. Simon, son of Jochanan. The greatest among his brethren in his glory of his people was Simon, the priest, the son of Jochanan, in whose time the house of the God was renovated. In those days the temple was reinforced in the time. Also the wall was rebuilt, and powerful turns for the temple precincts. And in his time the reservoir was dug, and the pool was of vastness like the sea. He protected his people against brigands and strengthened his city against the enemy. How splendid he was as he appeared from the tent, as he came from within the veil, like a star shining among the clouds, like the fool among the holy day season, like the sun shining among the temple, like the rainbow appearing in the cloudy sky, like the blossom of the branches in springtime, like a lily on a bank of stream, like the trees of Lebanon in summer, like the fire of incense in sacrifice, like the vestments of beaten gold, stubborn precious stones, like a luxuriant olive tree thick with fruit, like a cypress standing against the clouds, vested in magnificent robes, and wearing his garments of splendor, as he ascended the glorious altar and led majesty to the court of his sanctuary. When he received the sundered victims from the priest, while he stood before the sanctified wood, his brethren ringed him about the garland, like a stand of cedars on Lebanon. All the sons of Aaron in their dignity clustered around him like poplars, with offerings to the Lord in their hands, in the presence of whose assembly is Israel. Once he had completed the service at the altar, with the arranging of the sacrifice for the Most High, he had stretched forth his hand for the cup to offer blood for grape, and poured it out the fruit of the altar, a sweet-smelling odor to the Most High. The sons of Aaron would sound a blast. The priests of the temple was beating metal. The blast resounded mightily as they remained before the Most High. Then all the people, with one accord, would quickly fall prostrate to the ground in adoration before the Most High, before the Holy One of Israel. The hymns would re-echo, and the throng sweet strains of praise resound. All the people on the land would shout for joy, praising the merciful, as the Most High completed the service as the altar. By presenting to God the sacrifice due, then coming down, he will raise his hands. Over all the congregation of Israel, the blessing of the Lord will be upon his lips. The names of the Lord will be his glory. Then again the people would lie prostrate to receive from him the blessings of the Most High. And now, bless the God of all, who has done wondrous things on earth, who has fostered men growth from their mother's womb, and fashioned them according to his will. May he grant you joy of heart, and may he peace abide among you. May his godliness toward us endure in Israel, as long as the heavens are done. Epilogue in Canticles. In Canticles, I think. My whole being loathes two nations. The third is not even people. Those who live in Seir and Philistia are the degenerate folk who dwell in Schema. Wise instruction appropriate the proverbs I have written in this book. I, Jesus, son of Eleazar, son of SirAch, and they gush forth from my heart and understanding. Happy the man who meditates upon these things. Wise the man who takes them to heart. If he pulls them into practice, he can cope with anything. For the fear of the Lord is his lamp. Chapter 51. I give you thanks, O God of my Father. I praise you, O God, my Savior. I will make you known your name, refuge of my life. You have been my helper against my adversaries. You have saved me from death. You have kept my back from my body, from the pit, from the clutches of neither would you have snatched my feet. You have delivered me in your great mercy, from the scorn of slanderous tongue, and the lips that went over to falsehood, and the snare of those who watched for my downfall, and from the power of those who sought my life. From many dangers you have saved me, from the flames, the heam me in every side, the midst of unremitting fire, from the deep belly of the netherworld, from deceiving lips and painting of lies, from the arrows of dishonest tongue. I was at the point of death. My soul was nearing the depths of netherworld. I turned every way, but there was no one to help me. I looked for no one to sustain me, but could find no one. I looked for one to sustain me, but could find no one. But then I remembered the mercies of the Lord, his kingdom through ages past. For he saves those who take refuge in him. He rescues them from every evil. So I raised my voice from the very earth, from the gates of the netherworld. My cry, I called out, O Lord, you are my Father, you are my champion, you are my Savior. Do not abandon me in time of trouble. In the midst of storms and dangers, I will ever praise your name, and constant in my prayers to you. Thereupon the Lord, hear my voice and listen to my appeal. He saved me from every kind of evil, and he preserved me in time of trouble. For the reason I think I am in praise, I bless the name of the Lord. When I was young and innocent, I sought wisdom. She came to me in her beauty, until the end I will cultivate her. As the blossoms yield to the ripening grapes, the the harsh joy. My feet kept to the level path because of the earliest youth I was familiar with her. In the short of time I paid heed, I met with great instruction. Since in these ways I have profited, I will give my teacher grateful praise. I will become resolutely devoted to her. The good I perseveringly strove for her. I strove for. I burned with desire for her, never turning back. I became preoccupied with her, never weary of extolling her. My hand opened her gate, and I came to know her secrets. For I purified my hand in cleanness. I attained to her. At the first acquaintance with her, I gained understanding, such that I will never forsake her. My whole being was stirred as I learned about her. Therefore, I have made her my possession. The Lord has gained my lips as a reward, and the tongue will declare his praises. Come aside to you, you untold and tortured, take up lodging in the house of instruction. How long will you deprive of the wisdom of food? How long will you endure such bitter thirst? Open my mouth and speak of her. Gain at no cost wisdom over yourselves. Submit your neck to her yoke, that your mind may accept her teaching. For she is close to those who seek her, and those who is earnest finds her. See for yourselves, I have labored only a little, but I have found much. Acquire but a little instructions, you will win silver and gold through her. Let your spirits rejoice in the mercy of God, and not be ashamed to give her praise. Work at your task in due season. In his own time, God will give you reward. And that is the book of SirAch. I didn't expect them last chapters to take another hour. I really did not expect that. So, but that is the full book of SirAch. And it's powerful, isn't it? It's a powerful book. You know, I feel like reading this book alone can get a lot of people help that they need, because a lot of people don't know what they need to know. So they need to, get under wisdom, apply wisdom, meaning that you do what God is telling you to do. What you read about, what he's telling you, you apply it in your life. I can listen all day. Don't be quick to anger. But if I'm super quick to anger, I'm not learning anything from what God is telling me, because that's one of the problems that always cause me to think a lot. I'm quick to anger because I think somebody always trying to mess with me. They always trying to poke at me or something. Well, if I wasn't quick to anger, I stop, think about it, I calm down, I cool down. Even if they are trying to make me angry, I still let them have it. Because you ain't supposed to argue with a fool. You're not supposed to argue with nobody who don't got no sense, because you're only gonna fall down with them. So if you are talking with a person and you realize this, don't continue to keep going. Don't buck up. That's what don't buck up. That's what Bro Josh said to me. He said, don't buck up. You don't want to be seen bucking up against people who know that they are speaking some BS. So you don't constantly have to buck up against your parents. You don't have to constantly have to buck up against your against correction. Listen to correction. If somebody's telling you something and it sound like correction, listen. And if it don't sound right, it don't sound right. Have discernment. Ask God always. But we have finished SirAch. I don't know what book we're gonna go to next. Honestly, we're probably gonna read the Book of Wisdom next. Because that's the book before SirAch, and so we're gonna read the Book of Wisdom next. But yeah, this is all for today. So if you have listened, thank you. I know this is just me reading the Bible, but I never heard of this chapter. Which chapter is actually called Escalades in the King James Version. But this chapter is very helpful, and I feel like people need to hear it. And this is one of the things I need to share. I feel like this is something I'm dealing with now. It said don't even dine with a married woman. Don't even. I'm sorry, bro. It's like this thing, like, 'cause I'm looking for a wife, and so it's like I was starstruck. I don't know what it is with me, bro, but I'm putting it all on God. You know what I'm saying? So don't waste time with a foolish person. You can figure that out by just asking them a question about God, and if they align with you, in line with you. I'm not saying that they don't call them foolish or anything like that, but you know, when a foolish person is trying to argue for no reason, they're just trying to be right. You know, what's the next big one? You know, talking about the leaders. Most definitely talk about all the kings. All the kings of Israel have committed some type of sin, and this is why God said, "I'm taking your kingdom away from you." Well, really, because after Solomon, he has defiled his marriage, and so it's kind of like the marriage that God has made with us, has made with Israel, and God, he was gonna, like, you know what, I'm gonna show you. And this is when I guess Hosea came in, because I don't know if Hosea comes in later, but this is where the story of Hosea comes in, where he's like, okay, I'm gonna tell Hosea, and Hosea was faithful, bro. Hosea was blessed, but man, he was a strong man, because his wife, you know, he known his wife to just go off and go cheat and go do all these other things, and go take gifts from other men, right? And so, but the reason why he was going through that, because God, he was portraying a message of him in Israel, and how Israel was acting towards him, and how Israel was always going off and always going to these other idols, and they're always not focusing on God. You know, like we made a relationship with God, right? We say we're gonna follow him, we're gonna do all this, but then the moment comes after we say after the relationship, man, that's hard, bro. They in there bickering, they making too much. You don't need, like, you know, what they asking for me is too much. You know, God, you want me to not be like my old self no more? God, you want me to really not smoke some weed when I'm stressed out? Man, bro, that's tough. That's tough, bro. Like, you want me to sit here and just let the anger consume me? No, it doesn't. That's why. Also, hold on, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about this. So also, he said, do stuff in moderation. You know, he said, if you are gonna go out, you better do stuff in moderation, bro. He said, don't do it heavily. Get yourself, you know, stuck in a pit. But this is all I got for the book of SirAch, and tomorrow we're gonna be back with the book of wisdom, right? So leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell, and get out of here. That's all I got.